Voila, the ZF-1. It's light, handles adjustable for ease of carrying, good for righties and lefties, breaks down to 4 parts undetectable by X-ray, ideal for quick, discreet interventions, a word on firepower, titanium recharger, 3,000 round clip with bursts of 3 to 300, and with the replay button, another Zorg invention. It's even easier to listen to this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Thunder Road 3 now online.
My favorite.
How can I help you travel through movie space-time today? Course entered. The Fifth Element, 1997. Is this correct? Course set. Rewinding in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I am your captain of the former pod, now the TR3, Francisco Ruiz, and I am joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the PaulJPowers.com Powers.
Hi.
Hi, Paul. Also, for this discussion of the film The Fifth Element, we welcome back aboard radio broadcaster and one of the hosts of the Geek at Arms podcast, James Felix. Hey, James.
Negative, I am a meat popsicle.
Oh, my bad. Well, you know what? This is a first. We've never had a meat popsicle on this show before, so glad to have you. In addition, we are glad to have back aboard other co-hosts of the Geek at Arms podcast and ship's valet, Mike Fraley. Hey, Mike.
Michael Fraley Multipass.
And finally, we welcome back the end of the Triforce of Geek at Arms, Brian Ray. And now, Brian, you have sailed with us 3 times. Do you know what that means?
That means that I get to choose a title, yes? A position aboard the ship.
Not quite. You now are promoted to shipman, an official position on the TR3.
You have duty to do.
Yes. But what department would you like to serve in? I know the TR3 were a little cramped in here, but we could still pick a department if we ever get the pod back.
I think you need an archivist.
Oh, we have some, but you could be in the archives, ship's archives. Awesome.
We need
junior
help in
archivist.
there.
Yes, the ship's junior archivist.
Yeah.
We need help.
Considering our archives got depleted, some of them, we could sure use the help.
Yes, indeed. And now they have, so congratulations, Brian. And now they have a quick flyby of who we are. Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for The Fifth Element?
Sure. Heart was released May 11th, 2006.
What?
Runs 2 hours and 6 minutes.
What is Heart, Paul?
Heart. You said we're reviewing The Fifth Element.
Dang it.
And every Captain Planet fan knows that The Fifth Element is Heart. So that movie was directed by Hani Saptura and was written by Aramandonato.
Okay, that's wonderful, Paul, but we're actually talking about the 1997 Bruce Willis starring Luc Besson directing The Fifth Element.
What? After all that? All right, fine. The Fifth Element was released May 9th, 1997, and ran 6 minutes over the 2-hour mark. It was rated PG-13 and was directed by Luc Besson. It was also written by this dude, along with the help of Robert Mark Kamen, with lead stars being Bruce Willis, Mia Jovovich, Mia, Gary Oldman, Ian Holm, Chris Tucker, you know. Mm-hmm. And the music was composed by Eric Serra. You ready for the box office trivia?
I am ready. Mike, James, and Brian, are you guys ready?
Not even a little bit.
Well, that's too bad. And everyone here live in chat is welcome to play along as well. Go for it, Paul.
All right. The Fifth Element was made for about $90 million and went on to earn over $263 million at the box office.
Whoa.
So given this fact, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in 1997?
All right. Let's start with James. What is your guess?
Not just because it's The Fifth Element, but I'm going to go top 5, and I'm going to say number 3.
Number 3. Oh, nice. Wow. Okay. Brian, what say you?
7.
7. Okay. Mike?
I'm going to say that it came in 5th because that would be just too perfect.
That would be. I'm pretty sure Men in Black was probably number 1 that year. That'd be my guess. I think that's when it came out. Or wait, no, that is 96. Okay, well, it doesn't
Men in
matter.
Black did come out.
I know it came out at some point. I'm not, but I think it came out in 97 is what I mean.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay. I wasn't way off. My guess, though, you took 3, 7, and 5. All right, guys, I'm going to Price is Right you and at least 2 of you and say 4.
You're supposed to.
You were right in between.
You're supposed to choose a prime number. You're supposed to pick 11.
Yeah.
You know what? Whatever. And then here in chat, Bob, of course, goes with 42. Rushmore also guesses 4. See, we're on the same page.
Because top 4 and nothing more.
Yeah, exactly. But Paul, where did it actually end up?
If you had picked 11, sir, you would have won.
Dang
because
it.
it came in at 9.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
whoever said 7, you
Which
win.
was Brian. Good job,
Hey,
Brian.
congratulations.
Fabulous prizes.
Yes. Honor and glory, which never saved anyone,
2 tickets
apparently.
to Foston's Paradise.
Make it pop, pop, pop. Oh, my word. But thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Travis has located our target film.
Alert. Alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
250 years into the future.
Major Dallas, you've been selected for a mission of the utmost importance. What mission?
The race to save the human race is in the hands of one man.
You wanna play it hard? Let's play it hard.
Bruce Willis,
We're sending somebody in to negotiate.
Anybody else want to negotiate?
The Fifth Element, rated PG-13.
I want to see that film.
And whenever...
That trailer does not match the tone of the movie at
Not
all.
so
I did not
much.
see that.
That's if Michael Bay directed The Fifth Element, then that trailer would match perfectly. But you know that TV spot probably did jog some memories for us. So let's find out what our memory mind meld synopsis for The Fifth Element was. Aziz, light. The professor and Dylan 90210 need to read the hieroglyphics before the walking jukeboxes take the fifth element away. Then the duck robots tell Bilbo the priest that he needs to save the girl from Resident Evil because she is the fifth element. John McClane is moonlighting as a taxi driver when Carrot Top falls into his cab, escape military zombies before being fired by Sirius Black. The artist never known as Prince ditches Jackie Chan and flies to Space Ritz-Carlton with Bilbo Baggins for a concert from the universe's prettiest xenomorph. John McClane, Bilbo Baggins, and Detective Carter rush back to the temple, but Alice is unable to activate the weapon until Corbin reveals the true fifth element by confessing his love. I mean...
It's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost exactly not like this movie. Based on those memories, those flaws, what rating did they lead you to predict for this film before you rewatched it? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's start with James again.
Oh, this one is so hard. Actually, it's the easiest one I've ever done. This is an absolute classic.
Oh, okay. Absolute classic. Interesting. Brian, how about yourself?
Also classic.
Also classic. All right. Mike, gonna make a trifecta?
I predicted classic.
Classic. Paul, how about you?
I saw this in the theater and thought it was pretty bad and haven't seen it since. So I predicted tragic.
Tragic.
Nice.
And I actually, you know what? I remember seeing this before. I've seen this before, and I thought, you know what? This is one of those movies, much like The Rocketeer, sort of went up in my thinking. And when I viewed it, I thought, you know what? I think this movie has the potential for doing that as well. So I predicted classic as well. So we have 4.
I'll see you all on the other side.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see what that other side looks like. But before we get into our final ratings, let's go through and talk about what we liked most about the fifth element. Travis?
Best bits.
And I'm going to start with Mike this time. What is one thing you liked about the fifth element?
One thing that I noticed, especially in this rewatch, is that Mila Jovovich.
Sorry, it's my fault.
I think it's just Jovovich. I thought.
Jovovich. Do you know what it is? Yeah, there it is. Like right there in writing. Yeah, Jovovich. Mila Jovovich delivers such wonderful sincerity, even when she's speaking utter gibberish. Like if you watch her eyes in any scene, you feel like she's in this reality. Like she's not just seeing the set, she is seeing the world through Lilu's eyes, and just that conviction and that delivery, that performance was really anchoring for me. So that's really high up there for me.
Mia's best features are her eyes.
Okay.
He completely sells this concept that she's an immortal being of unimaginable power, knows nothing about the world around her.
Yes, absolutely. So was
that
was that one of your likes as well, James?
It was, but one of mine was just the entire cast, not just Mila Jovovich, but we're talking Bruce Willis as Corbin Dallas, Gary Oldman as Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg, and Ian Holm as Vito Cornelius. They really did such a great job. And what was so wonderful is that they played each of these parts completely straight. And just dedicated themselves to them. And that it made this action, sci-fi, dramedy comedy just such a pleasure to watch.
Absolutely.
I will agree. This movie would not be nearly as memorable if it weren't for the cast.
I think I'll have something to say on that later, but
I bet you will.
But I'm surprised none of you guys seemed. For me, something I liked was it could have been just nostalgia for me, but seeing all the practical alien effects in this, I thought was really refreshing. I thought they pulled them off well. As much as I feel like there wasn't a lot of thought to, okay, how would this big duck robot actually operate in the real world and actually be able to make all this technology? I don't think that was really thought through. I mean, the way they move, the little the limited articulation they could do, I feel like unless they're psychic or something, which doesn't come across at all, I don't think they're getting to the level of intergalactic space travel that they are.
Well, see, they're from a very high gravity planet, and so that's all just gravity generators inside the suit.
Then why wouldn't they be strong enough to like shoot up when they get to Earth?
I don't know.
That's exactly because it's not thought through.
It's like the director was talking to the puppet maker or whatever. Is like, oh wow, these look really cool. Great, how do they move? And they're like, wait, what? They're supposed to move?
Wait, a person has to go in there? Well, I think that's
we need 20 Belgian bodybuilders to get inside of this thing, because that's the strength it takes to be able to do this.
Right?
Just waddle back and forth.
So cool. I thought the designs were cool. Again, not super thought, okay, well, how would this actually function if it was real? But overall, cool designs, cool to look at, and love that they were there in the world. So
you had to call the Monachiwan duckhead aliens, though.
They are.
Every time I've never made that connection, and now I can't unthink it. And that is all I'm going to think of when I look at them from now on.
And when you do look at them and laugh like the dog in Duck Hunt.
Oh my gosh.
Though, Francisco, I think that you raise a point of something really interesting about this film. Like, if you think about it, it makes no sense. I mean, I think most of this film, if you stop and think about it for too long, it doesn't make any sense.
It falls apart.
The fact that it just keeps going and it just keeps the pace keeps you from stopping to ask those questions. And
does it though?
Well,
you're right. This film was slow and boring.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't call it slow and boring. But so one thing I have to say about this, you're saying, Mike, how it doesn't make a lot of sense. But keeps going. Apparently, Luc Besson, I was reading in the trivia that he had started the story. Yes, the director had started this story back in high school. He'd been writing it, so it seems very much like something a high schooler would write.
It's very much a high schooler script.
Yes,
yes.
Exactly.
That would very much explain all of the outfits that he puts Mila Jovovich in.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. But I am curious, what really outfitted this movie really well for you, Brian?
I'm going to go off the beaten path a little.
Oh.
For me, it's the color.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It's sort of bright or
day and age
else?
where everything is kind of monochromatic.
Yeah.
Everything is blue or everything is yellow. This movie has colors everywhere. They're bright, they're vibrant, but they're not overdriven.
Yeah.
Which, because they're shooting on film, that doesn't happen. It does these days with the digital cameras.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
Just
do you mean like when the whites are like too blown out? Is that what overdriven is, or is that?
Yeah, when you get clipping in the color
saturation.
channels, the saturation is too much.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
The color correction is just way overboard.
Yeah. But this movie has so many different colors, variety of colors, and even though they're bright and they're jarring, there's a harmony of the colors. No, I said it right. A harmony.
Yes.
Harmony of colors.
Yes.
Harmony Granger. Yeah.
I always listen to Harmony Wow. That's much better than the one I was going to make about macaroni. Continue, Brad.
Do I have to?
No, you don't. That's fine.
No, that's about all I have
Paul,
to say.
was there? I know you certainly come from art background in school. Did the colors or the effects or something like that make your like list, or was it something else?
No, but I will add to that. There were a lot of, to agree with Brian, there were a lot of variety of colors, but it was not distracting from the film, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So yeah, we agree on that. Going back to what Francisco, what you were kind of saying with the characters. There not many, but there were a few special effects that I was surprised held up really well for like some of the alien mouth movements they did. It still holds up to today's standards. Some of them, not all of them, but there were some that I was like, wow, this is really good.
That opera singer, it's amazing. They articulated her lips so well. I don't know how they did that.
Well, not her, but but sure.
Okay, nice. Okay, that's awesome, Paul. Well, let's get into what's the most awesome about The Fifth Element for each of us. Paul, I'm just going to go right back to you. What did you love most?
All right. The best thing about this film, The Fifth Element, is that it does a better job at having a Star Wars character sing opera than Star Wars ever did.
Wait,
reference to episode 3 and such.
Episode 3.
Like, did I miss a Wookiee opera or something?
No. When the Emperor's trying to tempt Anakin, they're watching some bubble show or something.
Lake. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, if it had been a Wookiee opera, episode 3 would have been much better.
Well, yes, probably. I
Turn
thought
off limbs and such. Yeah.
my mind went to Jabba's like palace singing there.
That's not opera.
Well, okay, fine.
That's the Max Rebo band.
Yeah.
That's right.
I watched that in preparation for this episode for reasons I don't understand. Now I know.
All has become clear.
Okay. Anyway, so you really liked. Wait, what did you say, Paul? You like the alien?
Here we go again. The best thing about this movie is that it does a better job of having a Star Wars character sing opera than Star Wars ever did.
Okay, apparently I need to open my ears and listen and talk less with my mouth. So I'm going to kick it now to James. What's your favorite part?
So when this movie came out in 97, there were other science fiction movies that just were dark and were depressing. I mean, that was when we saw Gattaca, Event Horizon, another Aliens movie. And then Luc Besson comes out with this. And it is such a colorful, beautiful, vibrant world that is alive. His vision of the future of I think it's like 2263 or something like that. And it's constantly moving. Something's always happening. You have a feel like the city is actually alive. Yeah. And it's a touch.
Yeah, it's got to go.
It's a touch dystopic, but with like the lowered ocean levels and the trash everywhere and the mega cityscape.
Is that why the Statue of Liberty is so high up? It's because the ocean went down?
Yes,
I thought
correct.
they like retrofit a big base under it. Okay, I didn't think I knew that.
No, and I did read that the reason that the airport was covered in trash wasn't because like there's just trash everywhere. It's apparently there was a deleted scene where there were these aliens that they had made, which were like the garbage men union, but they were on strike.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
But it was such a beautiful movie to look at. I mean, the futuristic skylines, the vehicles, everything had character and flair to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ric Flair was in it?
it was just in the background,
Background
going,
character,
Yeah.
he's the one
He may have been, you'd have never known. It's like,
with Ruby, Rod, who would even have noticed Flair?
Good point.
But just all of this together, this great vision that Luc Besson had. I mean, he had hired a couple of artists. I can't find their names right now, but just to make it look beautiful.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he even like hired a incredible fashion designer to make all of the clothes look great. And apparently, this fashion designer like visually inspected himself like 200 to 300 of the costumes of just the extras.
Wow.
Just to make sure they were just right. So that attention to detail to every small bit of the movie just made it so visually stunning and appealing.
Very
For
cool.
this movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's where the 90 million went. Okay.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Let's see. Brian, what had the most flair? What was the most stunning and appealing for you about the Fifth Element?
the one-liners.
Oh. Does anyone else want to negotiate?
3 movies that are
Well, where
so
did he learn to negotiate?
Each one, Princess Bride and Ghostbusters.
Oh wow!
Oh really? Wow, that's high. That's high praise right there. Okay,
That's quite the company it keeps.
Do you have a favorite line, like one you tend to quote a lot?
I only speak 2 languages, English and bad English.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
I will find myself saying my favorite.
Anytime my wife and I are cooking, depending on what the dish is, usually at some point one of us will go chicken good.
Oh my word!
If I'm going to cons and I'm showing my badge, like so many people are going multipass.
Yeah.
The movies, the dialogue has worked its way into our regular vernacular.
Okay, that's fun. Not so much for me, but that's totally fair. Let's see. Let's go with Mike next. What's your classic maker?
My classic maker was just the snappy rhythm and pace of some of the dialogue, and I think that is most exemplary in just the impeccable timing of the hallway scene with Ruby Rod. Like this
I was about to say it's all due to Ruby Rod.
That is, well, the thing is, they did this scene in sound production first, and then filmed to match it.
Oh,
and
really?
I think
Wow!
it really shows because it sounds so good.
Yeah.
And and just the pacing and the dialogue and just keeping it pop, keeping it snapping. It is just so incredible.
Yeah.
Making it pop, pop, pop.
That scene was super green.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that leaves me. What was most green about this movie for me was actually something you guys touched on before. And it's just I thought all the actors did such a good job of like feeling lived in this world, that they really brought a lot to this, a lot of groundedness to it. Mila Jovovich, with, like you were saying, I think, James, with how she played her eyes so well. I actually was drawn most to Gary Oldman as Zorg. I thought he was a great villain. The only part I was looking for it this time, I still don't understand is, why does blood drip down from the middle of his forehead? Why? When he's talking to evil planet. Why? What? I missed it.
I think it's motor oil.
I was about to say
for what?
I don't know if it is blood, but and where does it come from? I think the studio PA got lost or something, tripped over, and
I thought it was like a weird gravy, like Bovril or something, because it had like this brown look to it.
Well, whatever it was, why was it there? Is why.
It's the gravy of evil, Francisco.
Yeah.
It's his desk. I mean, if tuxedo shirts are flying out of it, an alien from a pocket, and CDs. Why do they still have CDs in the future? Then obviously there's a button to make gravy fall from the ceiling.
Okay. Yeah, you got me. You got me there.
There's nothing scares Gary Oldman like gravy from a ceiling.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. You know what? There was plenty to like. Unfortunately, we didn't have as much time to get through all the likes. But I'm going to take captain's privilege because there is one more thing I forgot that I liked, guys. So sorry. I know.
So you get one.
Yeah, I get one. It's true. And that would be Junkyard Juggernauts. A warlord has taken the king and queen prisoner, and their only hope is you and the junkyard. Junkyard Juggernauts is a pixel art infused tabletop card game for 1 to 4 players designed by Francisco Ruiz. Hey, that's me. You will play as a Mageneer, drafting cards to build the arms and legs of a magic-fueled mech, aka a Juggernaut, before taking on the warlord. With an expected Kickstarter in 2024, there's still plenty of work to be done on Junkyard Juggernauts, and you can stay in the know by signing up to their newsletter at junkyardjuggernauts.com.
That's great, Francisco.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like that, Paul.
What does that have to do with the Fifth Element?
Actually, quite a bit, Paul, because in my game, I'm using the elements of fire, wind, earth, and water. It's like this Junkyard Juggernauts is a precursor to the Fifth Element.
One question, Francisco, though. Did a lot of love go into this game? Because there you have your Fifth Element right there.
So when you combine all of the different elements, the earth, fire, water, and air, does that mean that the mech is, when combined, becomes an avatar for the player?
Or Captain Planet? I'm confused.
In a way, yes, exactly. That's what happens, except not so much. But
you put it together with love?
Yeah.
All right, Paul, I get it. You want to talk about Captain Planet and the movie Heart. All right.
Yeah, the Planeteers. Here we go.
Well, I don't have
the Planeteers.
I don't have any trivia about that. So how about I give you some trivia about the Fifth Element, Paul?
Much better. Yes.
Okay.
Let's get back to the movie we're reviewing.
Yes. Did you all realize that the animatronic mechanisms used for the Mangalore masks, those were like the ogre-looking bad guys, were later recycled for the Nemodians in Star Wars Episode 1, the Trade Federation guys?
Yep.
So with that in mind, so my question for you all is, do you have a favorite animatronic effect you would like to see in more movies? Let's start with Paul.
No, because the best thing about effects is when you don't know that they are effects.
Sure.
So for example, like Smallville Episode 1, it flies over corn, and the corn is all CGI, but it looks real. You don't know it's fake unless you hear the commentary.
Those are the kind of effects animatronic?
No, but is the Mangalore masks animatronic?
Yes, apparently they are.
Well, that's why it looked good when talking, because the other parts when they were talking didn't with the CG. Again, not good effects that I want to see.
All right, how about you, Brian?
I don't know if I'd want to see it in more movies, but I do have a favorite animatronic effect, and that was the Ghost of Christmas Present from A Muppet Christmas Carol.
That was excellent. Yeah,
is that?
I agree. I don't know if I want to see that, but it does. It's well done.
That's the big guy, right? The jolly
and
big
not
guy?
only well done, but it's 2 performers having to work in perfect sync.
Oh wow!
And the guy operating the face is like off screen and also doing the voice.
Oh wow! Okay.
So he's doing a character, a stylized voicing character, while operating this incredibly complex controller device and being in sync with the guy actually in the suit.
Wow.
So that was just...
I just wish that was in a better movie, but okay.
Sounds like, who was it, Bluto? That's not his name, but...
from Labyrinth? I think
Yeah.
that was just one well, I don't know if it's two.
I don't know, but it was, I like those big Muppet
absolutely.
people.
Mike, how about you?
Yeah, actually, something similar to the Mangalore animatronics. I really do love that marrying of animatronics and creature suit acting. I thought it was most splendidly done in what I thought was otherwise a dumpster fire of a film, Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh yes, okay.
We
Yes,
reviewed that on episode.
I will
fill in the blank here.
I will
Go
put
search for
that
it, folks.
up while you talk about it.
Yeah, just the fact that you had such an incredible creature suit performance, as well as just the team, because there were 30 people working on the facial structures, all working in tandem, and it just created such a beautiful dance of a performance that makes a human-like face.
Yeah.
I thought the Mangalores came pretty close to that. Not quite to that degree, but I thought that just the animatronics and creature suit acting was just fantastic. Awesome.
And if you want to hear Mike talk more about Harry and the Hendersons, along with me, Paul, and also Kevin Joshua Burnham, check out retrorewindpodcast.com/248. And that leaves James. What's your favorite animatronic you'd like to see in more movies, or just your favorite one in general?
I'm going to kind of mirror what my co-hosts have said. I love the practical effect of either someone in a suit, but then also somebody manipulating the alien or extra parts off on the side. When you take a look at the creatures that are present in, say, a movie like Return of the Jedi versus The Phantom Menace, and when you have the practical effect of some of the aliens that are on Jabba's sail barge or in his or in Jabba's palace, and versus others like Jar Jar Binks or the Gungans, and one looks real. It's something that is physically there, and that you can see the other actors actually interacting with, and has a presence to it, a realness to it. Whereas the other one is just, you think, uncanny valley, and just takes you out of the film completely. So I have no idea what the budget is like for either one of those. Brian would be more the one to tell you, at least on the digital side. But
they're surprisingly close together, actually.
Oh, really?
Really?
Okay. Huh.
And I would say, for the money, let's put some of those out of work motion control actors back in place, and those artists like the robot makers, the costume makers, the makeup artists who put it all together. The creature shop.
The trouble with a creature shop and with animatronics and puppets is that whatever you've got on set that day is what you've got. Whereas with CGI,
fix it in post.
They'll continue noting it until the VFX company has run out of money and has gone bankrupt.
We're not going to see the CGI go away. We're just not. We're too embedded into it. But I would like to see more use of the live in creatures, and with maybe just, instead of the CGI becoming the norm, I'd like to see it become an accent.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the orcs in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly. But
see, everyone agrees with me. You don't want to see the effect because it takes you out of the movie. But great trivia, Francisco.
Wow.
And you do a great job, Brian.
Yes, you do.
Well, the idea is that you don't want to see the effects. They should be invisible.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
Now that we've all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about the fifth element.
Indeed. So Sheila A. Hendrickson Fraley says, love it.
Steve Hamilton says, the cigarettes.
Okay. Oh, that he has those 4 cigarettes, I guess, that he can use. Nathan Bantz says, one of my top 5 of all time. Fantastic pacing, world building, and developing likable characters. The fact the villain never meets the hero is awesome too. The only role Chris Tucker ever felt like he nailed. To this day, I listen to the soundtrack. Fantastic film.
Eric Trinidad says, multipass.
Lilu Dallas multipass.
Indeed. Joy Felix says, if you don't rate it classic, we are going to have words, but no pressure.
Eric Purcell says, big bada boom.
Oh my goodness. Jolie, I think, Heilman says, if you don't rate it as classic, then you and I can't be friends anymore. Just saying. And I'm reading from the comments on Mike's posts or repost of this. So I think we don't, me and Paul don't have to worry. It's just if Mike doesn't rate this classic.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yes.
Mikkel Withers says the music.
Michael Withers.
Mikel, Michael, Mikel,
Yes,
whatever, how
it's
you pronounce
Michael,
it,
it's
Mr.
Michael.
Withers.
Oh my gosh.
He says the music he remembers mostly. Had the soundtrack for years and played it a lot. Zorg was great. Ruby Rod. Sorry, man. Sorry. The visuals, terrific movie.
David Mattingly says, and if there's one thing I do not like, it's to be disappointed. Fortunately, this film does not disappoint.
Right. Nathan James Norman says, surprising and awkward nudity while we're sitting next to my parents in the theater.
Drew Dodgen put a gif of Lilu saying multipass.
Yep. Josh Appel also did when he wrote, the whole movie is brilliant and timeless. Multipass.
Kristen Rich Victor says, is that the movie where every restaurant is Taco Bell? Is McDonald's, I think.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of Taco Bell in here, but
Demolition Man, wasn't it?
Demolition Man, yeah.
Yes, that's what it was, yeah.
Who Will Save Generation X podcast says, Chris Tucker took me right out of this movie.
Ooh.
I feel like it had so much potential, but it's just silly and not in a good way.
Dun, dun, dun. Dave Mattingly says, again, this and Big Trouble in Little China are my most watched movies.
John Harju says, being incredibly disappointed by it.
Wow.
And David Bob Geese finishes it off with, no trace of boron anywhere. Why promote The Fifth Element if you're not going to feature it in the film? Actually, I never saw it. I wonder what you guys wish you hadn't seen in this movie.
You know what? Good point, Baba. And let's talk about the things we wish weren't in this movie, the things we disliked. Travis, bring up our dislike section.
Worst woofs.
Okay, guys, I'm going to kick off our dislike section. I knew it. As soon as I said kick, I knew it was coming. I didn't care for the editing style where they would go between like 2 to 3 different scenes carrying on the conversation. Sometimes when I like it in some movies when it makes sense that, you would be talking about the same thing here, but it doesn't make sense that they all would be talking about the exact same thing in sync enough to have the conversation carry over between like 3 or 4 different scenes. It just took me out of the movie.
They used to not make it slow and boring.
It bothered me. It was too unbelievable that would be happening for me.
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
I will grant you that is not a plausible scenario.
There we go. Yes.
And I support you in having your own subjective interaction with the film, despite the fact that I loved it.
I mean,
you know what, Francisco?
Yes.
I also agree with you.
Except you loved it too, Paul. Is that what it was?
No, I think it did take me out of the movie, but I thought it was a nice break from the norm.
Okay,
so it kept the movie going.
All right. Totally fair.
But yeah, it does. It's yet another thing that I think Mike said earlier, that there's a lot in this that just doesn't make sense. In fact, that would be my tragic maker. So this film is so full of dislikes for me that I'm just going to save my other 2 for other things.
So wait, that I just said is your tragic maker?
No, there's a lot in here in this movie that doesn't make sense. That is just number 84 in a long list of things that don't make sense.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
Mike,
fair.
I just want to point out what you said a minute ago. That was the nicest way of telling someone you're wrong and stupid, but I still like you.
He's right on his own grounds. That was his interaction with the film. He hated it. I loved it. And then we shake hands and then our podcast never talk about each other again.
Geek at Arms used to name drop Retro Rewind all the time. I wonder what happened. Wow.
It all goes back to Geek at Arms episode 50 when they reviewed The Fifth Element.
Exactly. If you're like at the end of all this, you're like, I want more Fifth Element talk from those 3 guys. They were awesome because they are awesome. Go check out episode 50 of Geek at Arms, like James just said. And speaking of James, what's something you didn't like about The Fifth Element?
Remember what Mike was talking a bit ago about making sense?
Aha!
So I couldn't help but think, what exactly is Zorg's reason for helping the Death Moon?
Yeah.
and
I don't know.
Mr. Shadow, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
I mean, what does he get out of this? I mean, at some point he alludes to that, it wasn't, getting the stones wasn't easy. My costs have tripled. No money ever talked about. Great. Okay, you're going to have, instead of $1 billion, you're going to have $3 billion, but you're going to be king of the ashes.
When everything's destroyed anyway.
Maybe he doesn't realize that he's going to destroy everything.
I
don't buy it.
Some things kind of go over his head. And here's the other thing is that, so this is like going to be the most important thing he probably has ever done. Mm-hmm. I mean, nothing else impresses him. And yet he's scared to death. He has to get this done. He has to get the stones, and he keeps outsourcing it to the most inept beings and employees that he has.
Good point. Yes.
And he even says at the end, if you want something done, do it yourself. And he messes it up.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even look in the case when he's right there in the room.
Right?
Yeah, that dawns on him as he's laughing and crying, they're not here.
Yeah.
Which I laughed at.
Yeah, that was a fun thing. Yeah. That's a fun gotcha. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's a good point, James.
That's an excellent point. All pointing to my tragic movie.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're not there yet. Brian, what's something you didn't like? And how does it point to Paul's tragic maker?
That's right.
Well, it remains to be seen how much David points at Paul's tragic maker.
David? Who is David?
Exactly. David was the acolyte. Cornelius's assistant.
Luke Perry,
nothing.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that whole intro.
Oh, wait, was it? Was he?
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the other acolyte.
The Aziz
guy
who's
with
pointing the light?
No, the David hat guy. See, he doesn't remember who David is either because he does not matter.
On a side note, considering how big Perry was in the 90s, I thought he was going to play a much bigger part in this movie when I originally saw it.
Brian, that whole intro when they're in the past doesn't matter. They could easily cut that out.
He's not in. I'm talking about the acolyte of Cornelius, the guy with the stupid hat on.
So Luke Perry plays Billy.
Yes.
Charlie Creed Miles plays David, who is helping Bilbo Baggins. Exactly.
Who is so utterly forgettable that it's taken us this long to establish who he is.
Was he the one with the gun or the hat? We don't know.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that was something you didn't like. Was
an extra character that you didn't like? You like priests who can do it on their own and not have assistants?
Careful, you're talking to an associate minister.
This is somebody that they paid to be in the movie, and he shouldn't have been there.
Well, the $90 million has to go somewhere. They had leftovers from the designer.
Wow.
Well, when we get to my tragic maker, we can hear where I thought that money should have gone.
All right. That's fair. Mike, where do you think they should have spent a little bit more money? What's something you didn't like?
Is something similar to Zorg's. Do you know what? No, actually, you've already hit that. I'm going to move on to something entirely different.
Oh, there we go.
I think that the fight scene with Lilu and the Mangalores did not age well. I thought that it was wonderful in at the time and the moment, but post Matrix, like these things that looked so crisp in practice then, A, don't look all that crisp or practiced, and B, there's a lot of Mangalores hanging around in the background just waiting to get hit.
Like a Ninja Turtle movie.
You have a gun pointed at somebody, for crying out loud.
It was a bit Looney Toony.
I like how you're supporting my tragic maker. I mean, the aliens shoot everybody but Lilu, and then Lilu attacks the aliens.
Well,
but as soon as Gary Oldman comes in with the same gun as those guns have, I know they're not guns, but then she runs away. None of it makes sense.
Well, Lilu had Stitch to help her.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that too.
I was about to comment on his pronunciation. Beat me to it, James. Mike, I will just add on to that. Thing. The whole, the fight, it could have been crisper. It really just was, I don't know if jarring is the right word, but just nonsensical. That at the end, we're trying to do some movement punctuations to the music, and Li Lu goes like this with her arms. She like goes like does a bow with her arms out to match what the opera performer is doing. I get why the opera performer was doing it. And if, let's say, Li Lu, was a general
ESP.
who became a slave, who became a gladiator, who defied Zorg, then I could see she would have like repeated that sort of motion because she would have been doing that in her gladiator days. But no, there's no seeding of why she would move like that to begin with. So why are you doing some sort of performative thing at the end when all the Mangalores that you killed, that you beat up, are gone, are dead, or passed out? No one's looking at you. I don't know what's going on.
Mangalores to dance, and she'd be dancing with herself.
So, Mike, did that make sense? My little tirade there, or?
Yeah, I think that your tirade made perfect sense. I mean, but I think the answer to that is she learned all of her moves from martial arts movies, and that's why she does theatrical. No, that makes no sense.
Actually, that did make sense as you said that, 'cause I forgot she had that moment where she was looking at the computer with all the stuff. So
I thought she was so perfect. She had ESP and she was connected.
She had to discharge her chi.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, fair, whatever, but it still it bothered me in the moment.
Yeah, I support it.
Paul, why don't you give us one more dislike or your dislike before we get to Tragic Makers?
All right, the whole thing of this film is that, spoiler, it all accumulates, if that's the right word, leads up to, they need the 4 elements, and then the 5th element needs to be activated by love. And there's supposed to be like this great, there's no chemistry between Bruce Willis and Mia, whatever your name is.
Mia Jovovich.
Sure, that's that too. But there is no chemistry between these two that make me feel like, oh, they were in love and they just need to get together. I mean, I think the scientist that helped created the perfect element, the girl, was in love with her more than Bruce Willis was.
Let me ask you this, Paul. Can you think of any
The Princess Bride?
No. Can you think of any movie where Bruce Willis has felt like he's had good chemistry with the love interest or a love interest?
Yeah, that's not his role. He does a great, like him shooting along the balcony and jumping in. That is the quintessential. That's why you have Bruce Willis in this movie for those 5 or 10 seconds. That was amazing.
When he and Hans Gruber look into each other's eyes on top of the Nakatomi Tower, there's just that spark there for a moment.
Yeah, I thought it had great chemistry with that little fat kid from The Kid.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I've never seen The Kid. But
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Jeez.
So it all leads up to this great supposedly romance that just is not there, and it would have been better if there was a great romance there.
Okay,
I will have to go with Paul on this a little bit. My thinking was, okay, so the 5th element has been used to defeat evil before, because this happens as the professor says at the beginning, 3,000 years. Yeah. So, okay, what was the person's name that she fell in love with the first time that this happened, or the last time? And is she just breaking hearts throughout the centuries as she falls in love, gets fired off, saves the universe, and then goes back into the sarcophagus?
Yep.
Paul, I can see how that would bother you. But let's get into our Tragic Makers, and let's start with James. What did I know you really enjoyed this movie, at least you said you predicted classic, but was there something you really hated about it?
Actually, there is. I went on in my Classic Maker about how much I enjoyed Luc Besson's vision for this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going back to Luc Besson, I question some of his decision-making, because this movie gets a little skeezy at times.
Ooh. They turned their backs when she was changing.
What the camera
Which
did.
time? Because she does it multiple times.
Well, yeah.
There were 3 times that Lilu was on display, kind of.
Yeah.
And even though she was in the background and the focus wasn't on her, the fact that it happens more than once, twice, and 3 times. It's like if I had a nickel for every time it happened, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but still, it's it's more than one. But you add that along with like the skimpy outfits that she was constantly wearing, and I mean, it's easy to see, and it's no surprise at all that Luc Besson was kind of crushing hard on Mila Jovovich during this movie. In fact, he ended up leaving his fiance to begin to pursue a relationship with Mila while they were shooting.
Well, yeah, because she's perfect, according to the movie.
According to the script written by Luc Besson.
Yes. I also want to point out Mila was about 19 years old when they were shooting this, and Luke was in his 30s.
Oh, really?
So
Jeez.
that's a bit odd.
So,
you add that along with the whole Rudy Rod and the stewardess scene.
Oh, yeah.
When they were taking off. These were moments that I think if they had not existed at all, if they were completely gone from the movie, nothing would have been taken away from it, and the movie would have been just fine, and I would have been happier without them.
Yeah. I can totally get behind that for sure. Brian, what could have totally been removed or excised from this movie and you would have felt better about it?
Well, ironically, the thing that could have been removed was removed because I'm going to talk about the costumes.
Oh, okay. But I'm there.
I don't know, hiring a fashion designer or not, I just thought all of the costumes looked so cheap.
Oh, really?
And,
well, especially Mia's costume with just the duct tape bandages that magically stayed on.
And especially that alien skin where you just, you put your hand in and you bring out stones. Yeah, that didn't make
Which
sense.
was weird. It's like, how does he know, like, it's there? Like, it could be anywhere
How
inside
did she
her.
sing with stones implanted in her body?
Easy. You start off with the marbles in your mouth and you swallow and you keep on singing.
It's just training.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But continue.
Really compress the diaphragm. I mean, like constantly, because it's like the size of this with those stones against it. Yeah. That's how she can hit those high notes.
There were a couple of exceptions, but most of the costumes, they didn't fit right.
Yeah, they seemed
looked like
out of place for sure. Especially like the police uniforms and stuff. They like put so much on them. And I'm like, why would you? It didn't
you really need like this gigantic spotlight on your chest.
Yeah.
Nothing says law enforcement than metallic penguin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that says it the most, I think, except
so everything about this movie, that's the thing that makes me think this movie looks cheap.
The costumes. Okay, that's totally fair. Mike, what's something that looks so cheap to you? You wanted to get it out of this movie ASAP.
Yeah, one thing that I think that we could have lost is the juxtaposition of sexuality and violence with the Ruby Rod in his engagement with the flight attendant and Zorg killing his minion. As much as I like the snappiness of the going back and forth, answering each other, it really just rubs me the wrong way when we have the juxtaposition of Ruby Rod and his flight attendant and the explosion killing the guy. That will squick me every time.
That's fair. Yeah, it's
too many things going on at once.
It makes sense why Zor would kill his man. I mean, he's the bad guy. He doesn't really care. But yeah, he didn't need it to punctuate the takeoff. I think that's the part you're talking about, right? Where
because there's the takeoff, the explosion, and exactly going on at the same time.
Yes. I can totally. I think there's an element, like we said before, where this seems very much like the type of story a teenage boy would be writing. And so that I don't think it's good that it wasn't edited out in lieu of something that's a bit just more, I don't know, classy, more cinematic. And cinematic's not quite the right word, but just for better story beats or elements, I guess is how I'll put it. All right. Now, before we get to the creme de la creme with Paul's tragic maker of, this movie, I'm going to say I have two that I'm going to sort of join into one here. And that's, first off, I sort of spoke to it just a second ago. I didn't understand the opera singer. I thought that aria she did was very pretty.
I think it's Italian. That's why.
What?
You didn't understand her.
Oh my gosh. It's not what I meant.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I only speak English.
I didn't understand why. why they have this opera that lasts all of like 5 minutes. What
they had to cram a fight scene into it as well.
It's like usually when you pay for like operas or music shows, they're like 2-3 hours, not 5 minutes. So I'm like, why are you guys right now?
Think them to show another 2 hours?
No, I'm expecting you to do something else that would make more sense.
You wanted the show to continue going on during the gunfight?
Yes, let's do that.
Like the Titanic and the violin quartet.
And then just add on to that the real base, the real foundation for My Tragic Maker is the music in this movie was all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Pick a tone, please. It's just
it's either nothing or the wrong tone. Several times I turned to my wife and said, like, why does the music not match?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
I could have easily heard and it would have fit just as well as a couple of people said they liked the music, and they listened to the soundtrack.
Fine. That's
fine. You can listen to the soundtrack by itself, but have it at least with the movie. It should at least go well with the scene.
It almost felt like they had a temp track, and they're like, let's just license all that music. It's good enough. I don't know what happened.
It's not even a good temp track.
Okay, call 911 for James, because I think he's...
It would have been a great scene if that had been included as the Mangalores are coming into the theater. If it channeled Titanic for a second, and all these musicians look at each other and go, "Gentlemen, it has been an honor." And you see that it's it's an orchestral unit, electric guitarist, a DJ at the counter, and the classical violinist goes, "Let us play, my friends." DJ Graftbot, drop us that beat.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. So that was my true Tragic Maker. It's just the music did not fit this movie in so many ways, and it didn't match with each other, and it didn't match with the movie on the whole, from my opinion.
I agree with you. Right on.
And
Right side, right heel, right hand, right on. Right on, right on. Right on, right on.
And Paul, what was wrong on about this movie for you? What's your Tragic Maker?
Strap in, boys.
My Tragic Maker is that a lot of this movie, most of it just doesn't make sense to me. So I've already said that. So I'll go with the bonus one of the effects. Just don't hold up to today's standards. They don't hold up to. I remember in the theater going, "What is this?"
Paul, there's a flame skull coming at you. It's so
like cool. Even like especially like in space, like they use Microsoft Paint for these spaceships, and then the effects, the practical effects. I feel like I'm watching a rip-off of Captain EO. Like what the heck?
Paul, are you watching on your like 8K CinemaScope 100-inch TV? Oh, okay. Well,
of course.
Okay.
You got to find an old late 90s RCA at like a pawn shop somewhere.
Yeah.
Then the effects will look great.
Yeah,
if you squint and then it kind of like blurs the lines together, it's great. Hey, at least it was colorful. I'll give you that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the effects were mainly your
the effects just are lousy compared to today's standards.
Right.
Except for a few that I mentioned before, was actually one of my likes.
Yeah.
But most of them do not hold up.
Okay.
It just take me right out of the movie.
Right out of this Fifth Element. Well, now it's time to put all these elements together. We've entered all our trajectories into the firing computer. Travis, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Salvo authority accepted. Ratings prepared to launch.
Okay, guys, it's time for the moment of truth. Do we rate The Fifth Element a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see this movie, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, if you enjoyed it as a kid, young adult, whenever you saw it last, then yeah, check it out again if it's been a while. But if you've never seen it before, probably just pass this one by. Or is it a tragic? We'd recommend no one see this film. If you've never seen it before, keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. Let's begin with the Geek at Arms, guys. I'm going to go with Mike first. What was your final reign for The Fifth Element? You had predicted classic. Where did it end up for you?
Paul convinced me this film is just tragic. No,
I heard tragic. We're going to continue on to Brian.
I do. Honestly, though, I love this film.
Okay.
I'm gonna rate it. I'm gonna rate it a classic.
Classic. Okay. All righty.
Flawed as it is, I love it.
All right. I'm real curious. What age were you when you first saw it? Would you say, Mike?
Oh, I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Well, I mean, granted, how old was I when the film came out is another thing, but it was several years later, and my wife, who usually isn't the sci-fi aficionado, says, "Oh, have you seen this movie? You've got to watch it." And it's like one of the very few science fiction films that she introduced me to, rather than the other way around.
Oh, wow, very cool.
Is it because there was a quote unquote love interest in there? Because that was my wife's favorite part, and I'm like, really?
This love story?
I'm trying to remember if we were dating at the time or not. But anyway.
Okay. Well, so classic for Mike. Brian, what was your final reign from after predicted a classic?
This movie has an awful lot that's wrong with it, but those things, to me, just kind of make it more charming.
Okay.
So I'm going to stick with classic.
It's a classic bad movie.
You
Okay.
Softies. Okay. James, lay down the hammer. I know there's got to be a tragic amongst you.
Paul's words this podcast have touched my heart.
Oh,
I have looked deep within,
and
I've realized
3 sizes.
that all of his words have just caused me to become nauseated with them, because this movie is still fantastic. Does it have flaws? Yes, it does. But when you look at it as a whole, I mean, what movie from 1997's what effects are going to hold up today? I mean,
Titanic.
Many of them better than this one.
I do not like Titanic at all.
Day, I think holds up. It's been a while since I've seen it. But
it's been a long time
Men
too.
in Black.
I mean, a little bit of Men in Black, but considering
Air Force One,
considering where it was made,
my best friend's wedding,
my big fat Greek wedding.
Oh my gosh. Continue, James.
But movies like this don't come across hardly ever anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun sci-fi action comedy romp.
It's kind of pulpy. It has some pulpiness to it.
And
you don't get much.
it has for whatever flaws it has, it makes up for it with awesome visuals, charm, witty, snappy dialogue, heart, and so much more.
Aww.
So it is absolutely a classic.
A classic from James. All right.
Now, do take into context that you did invite in a bunch of podcasters who had an episode 45 trash movies we can't help loving. So I mean,
I will be back if you do Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, okay.
Oh, please, no.
Me and Paul both have tried watching that movie
last night.
Me and Paul both tried watching that movie, and I think we both stopped because we were just.
No,
I fell asleep.
Finally found the movie that Retro Rewind won't do.
I finished it, and I don't ever want to sit through that again.
Wow. All right. I didn't ask Brian and James. When did you guys first see Fifth Element? Because I'm just curious if this plays into your final rating or not. That's all.
I saw it in the theater.
Same year. I saw it back in 1997. Actually, Brian, we might have saw it together.
We
were both living in Wichita at the time.
So were you guys in your 20s then?
I was 19 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
22.
Okay. Very cool. For me, I probably saw it. I don't think I saw it when it first came out. I probably saw it closer to when I was in my late teens, 20s. But enough about me. Let's go to our reflex capacitors, or the people that make this time travel possible. If you support the podcast at $5 or more, you get to have a vote on these final ratings as well. And the reflex capacitors rated The Fifth Element a classic as well. So
wow.
We have 4 classics, so it doesn't really matter what me and Paul rate it.
I was about to say let's combine our powers and make it a tie.
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean there, Paul. Me
neither.
You don't know what I'm going to rate it, but I'm curious what you're going to rate it, Paul. You had predicted tragic. Did it really end up there for you?
Well, After watching this movie, I'm going to have to quote Ruby Rod here when I say...
What was that? It was bad. It had nothing, no fire, no energy, no nothing. You know I have a shoulder right here, you know? And it must pop, pop, pop. It must be green, okay? Okay?
It was not green for me. Sorry. But I personally don't like this film. I don't know if I'd ever rewatch it, but everyone that I've heard, including my wife who likes it and rewatch it, they like it again. So that kind of fits in with our nostalgic rating of if you liked it before, then you'll like it again. You know, there's that category. Mm-hmm, but for me personally, it's tragic. So I'm going to rate it tragic just to, so I can be a voice for those people.
To everybody else.
Yeah, but to also quote Ruby Rod, what's wrong with you?
No.
Wow. So for me, I had predicted classic. Oh yeah, Paul, when did you first see this movie? Did you say
I saw it in the theater when it came out.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I had predicted classic, but man, did it not live up to that. I never care to see this movie again. I'd be totally happy if I never did.
What is happening right now?
He is expressing himself on his show, and we are guests.
It certainly has elements that are enjoyable, but unlike The Rocketeer, which is just the sum of its parts, I felt like this was less than the sum of its parts. Some of its parts were excellent if they were in isolation, but together, I think it's just become sort of this
Hodgepodge.
Pastiche of teenage storytelling. That's what I'll go with. Just very like young adults if they were given $90 million to make a movie. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that what this costs? Maybe I missed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm just I guess that concept
you know
is
what?
just...
That's probably a diss to some young adult fiction. So never mind.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But tragic.
Paul, do you see what you've done? As Vito Cornelius said, evil begets evil. And by giving it a tragic, you've only made it stronger.
With great power comes great responsibility. I'm sorry, I need to keep my powers under check here.
Now, Paul, do you want to? We could go back and redo My Path and the Holy Grail if you want to give that a tragic too.
Wow, you love it so much you want to rewatch it and re-review it?
You can just rewatch it and re-review it as tragic.
No, I watched too many movies accidentally for this podcast anyway.
Oh yeah, I should have asked. So what would you get? What would be your final rating for Heart, Paul?
Tragic. You know why? It lacked heart.
Oh. All right. Well, according to the Retro Rewind podcast, with 4 classic ratings, we rate The Fifth Element a disputed classic film. We'd recommend anyone go see this, whether or not you've seen it before. But now it's time to stick around here in 1997 till we figure out what we're doing next. Travis?
Return to 20XX overridden. Comsats broadcasting while awaiting return coordinates.
Oh, it's good to go nowhere.
Oh my gosh. Feels good to be here in 1997, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1997 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Ruiz, Kennethan, Fabulous Lomax, Rosie Lomax, That's Our Babo, D. Tungsten, Dale, Mr. Lost, Daryl Hafner, Cool Deluxe, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
Great Scott! If my calculations are correct, then this stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
Hey, Francisco, are there any
What was that, Paul? Sorry, Doc Brown just really threw me for a loop there.
I know, he usually does, appearing out of nowhere like that. But I was wondering, is there any some free ways to support the show?
You know what? Where we're going, we don't need freeways.
Is there any non-monetary ways?
Yeah, so yeah. Oh, that's what you mean. Actually, yes, Paul. You listening probably enjoyed this episode if you made it this far. So if you aren't driving and we didn't cause an unholy rage in you because me and Paul rated it tragic, tap the share icon on your podcast player for this episode and send it to a friend. Say, I know you like the movie The Fifth Element, or maybe I know you hate The Fifth Element. Here are some people that agree with you. So I
still rated a classic.
So I thought you might like to listen to this podcast as well. And that'd be a great way to share the show for free.
Cool. And I'll bet they'll thank you for it.
Maybe.
And speaking of thanking people, we want to give a big elemental hug to all our friends for joining us here, sharing their thoughts on The Fifth Element, and we'll go by alphabetical. So, Brian, where can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on that people should know about?
Well, you can find James and I on the Woolheads podcast, woolheadspod.com, where we review season 2 of Amazon's The Wheel of Time.
Cool. Nice. All right. And James, how can people find you online and what's going on with you?
Well, of course, you can find all three of us at geekatarms.com and facebook.com/geekatarms. And you can find me on Instagram under Dice Night EDC, where I combine my shared hobbies of everything geeky and the world of everyday carry together.
Nice.
Very nice.
All right. And Mike Fraley, how can people find you online and what's going on with you?
Well, what's going on with me is I am also a co-host of the Geek at Arms podcast, I know, but also since Brian plugged a Woolheads, I'm also going to plug the Christian Gamers Guild, which you can find at christian-gamers-guild.org, of which Brian is, are you still co-president of that?
No, I am just a at-large board member.
Just at-large board member. Okay. So he's living large as a board member.
Okay.
Mike says you need to cut that out.
Isn't Geek at Arms also on Instagram now?
Oh, Geek at Arms is also on Instagram. We are Geek at Arms is also on Blue Sky, and we are Arms Geek on Twitter.
And what is Geek at Arms? Why don't you tell us something about that? Because I'm not sure what that is. Except I do know, but I'm curious. People may not know what it is.
Sure. Geek at Arms is a podcast camped at the crossroads of geek culture and Christian faith, where we talk about a number of subjects that are oriented around the geekosphere, whether that is historical swordsmanship, science fiction, fantasy, and every other month we review a film club film.
Very cool.
So also some actual play RPG experiments that we're running.
In our next episode, which we'll hopefully be releasing in the next couple of weeks, we'll be taking a look at the classic Western movie, The Magnificent Seven.
Oh, nice. Cool. Very nice.
I saw that. It's Three Amigos ripped off.
Three Amigos did do it more efficiently.
The thrilling three. And what is our zombie apocalypse plan? Oh, wait, that's your guys' shit.
Hey, stay in your lane, Francisco.
Stay in your lane. He's been reviewing films 15 years or older. We need to really watch the stay in your lane language.
But how long has he been coming up with zombie apocalypse plans of the week, Mike? That's your role, my man. I will defend you.
Aw.
That's fair. I don't mean to walk on your guys' toes. And thank you so much for coming on. It's so awesome having you guys back again. I remember last time you were on for the thing, you know.
We haven't reviewed the thing.
I know. I want to review the thing. For Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Awesome having you guys for that and for this. Yeah, thank you so much for coming back again and being a part of the show. And thank you, Paul, for always being here, and for all you rewinders, new or old, for another fun voyage.
You're welcome. And you can find me, pauljpowers.com, at pauljpowers.com.
Whoa. And you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retroreonpodcast.com/Discord.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. point your web browser to culturebox.media.
And as Nathan just said, we are now part of the Culture Box Media Network. Find all shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media.
Thank you, EXO, and thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for the next episode of the Retro Rewind Podcast. Find out where we might be going by listening to our ship's logs at retrorewindpodcast.com/story. But wherever it is, we'll catch you there next time.
Rewinders of the Lost Pod mission complete. Review audio ship's logs for more details.
Yes! What's wrong with you? What you screaming for? Every 5 minutes there's something, a bomb or something? I'm leaving.